what's up you guys? My name is Laura and today I want to do the rapid fire book tag. I saw it on Michelle Loves Books and it looks like the original creator is Girl Reading, so I will link both of their videos down below. Without anything else, let's go ahead and get right into it. Ebook or physical? Physical, every time. I have an e-reader, I love my e-reader, but nothing beats a physical book, literally ever. The smell, the feel, I like carrying them around. I thought at some point I might get into ebooks more permanently, but you just can't beat it. Plus, the physical books never change their cover, and I get disappointed every time there's an update on my Kindle and the cover changes. I don't even know what she wants. Want to come up here? No? Okay. Paperback or hardback? Both, but usually hardback. Hardbacks just tend to last longer, and usually I think they're a little bit more attractive, and I like that I can, leave the cover at home. Although, of course, if you look behind me, a lot of my books come in both forms, especially when I get into a series that is already around. It's hard to get the hardcover of the originals, or I want them to match. So, okay. So even though I can get the hardcovers for these two books, they won't match because they got a new artist, and so the paperbacks match the hardback. So it's kind of like, do I want them to match or do I want them all to be hardback? It's both is the answer. Online or in-store shopping? I usually do online shopping, but I prefer to in-store shop because I can hold the book, I can feel the book, I can decide right then and there if I want it and then get it and bring it home and read it. But I do all of my shopping online because what ends up happening is I watch BookTube or I'm just on Goodreads or whatever, and I'm like, ooh, I want that book, put it in my cart. So most of it comes from online, but and also because I tend to shop at like Target, where they don't have a great book selection unless they're brand new. So, trilogies or series? That kind of depends. I like trilogies because I don't want to say they're over faster because I do enjoy reading them, but it's easier to get through and it's easier to reread them. But when it's things like Harry Potter or the Diviners, it's just, I never want it to end. So in that capacity, I like that they're series, but I can go both ways on that one. Heroes or villains? Villains, every time. They usually have a more complex backstory. They usually get the better color scheme in the movies. A lot of black and neon colors, which I'm totally here for. Plus, I love a good, not necessarily redemption arc, although I do love those, but I love tragic backstories like, can't find it, Fairest. Okay, you can't read it, but the backstory to Queen Lavanna in the Lunar Chronicles, anything that lets you know how the villain got from point A to point B, I love. It doesn't ever mean that you have to like them or forgive them or whatever, but I love it. I love figuring that out. A book you want everyone to read, which is actually going to go hand in hand with an underrated book because I want everyone to read The Diviners by Libba Bray. I am obsessed. It is the best thing I've ever read. Everybody and their brother needs to read it, and I also think that it is underrated because no one has ever heard of it. Barely anyone's heard of Libba Bray. And every time I'm on any kind of like book forum or whatever and people are recommending books, I just do not see this recommended enough. So I think it's underrated. That doesn't mean that it actually is. I mean, I hope it's not, but I don't know. But it's the best book I have ever read, and everyone needs to read it. And it's 3 sequels, the third of which comes out February 4th. So that one. The last book you finished. I planned ahead for this one, guys. Aren't you so proud? The last book I finished is The Wicked King by Holly Black, in the Folk of Air trilogy. So that was really good. Super excited to read the last one, even though I think it got mixed reviews, but we're going to ignore those and pretend like it's amazing. the last book you bought, which when I started this video was going to be something else, and then I went to the store yesterday and impulsively bought Frankly in Love by David Yoon, which I got mostly because it was really pretty. I've seen it on a lot of TBRs or wrap-up videos, and I don't actually think it's getting the highest ratings, but it had a really interesting plot and blue pages, and that was enough to tell me that I needed to try it. So, weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark? I mean, has my phone been a bookmark at some point in its life? Absolutely. But typically what I use as bookmarks are these random Pokemon cards that are just sitting on my bookshelf, so they've turned into bookmarks. I do actually have a couple bookmarks, and this one in front of me I got for Christmas. It's got the state of North Carolina in it. I think I have one with like Princess Jasmine on it. I have a couple. I never ever use them though. Even when I try to, I forget, and I'm just like, I don't know, I think maybe they're too thick for not being that, I don't know. I try to use them and I don't. Used books, yes or no? Ish. I've bought used books. I don't mind used books. I like that the existence of used bookstores is a thing, but I do prefer new books just because of how I keep my books. I tend to like to be the one to ruin them if they're going to be ruined. But that being said, I do go to used bookstores and I've definitely picked them up and it doesn't bother me, but it's just not my favorite way to buy a book. Top 3 favorite genres. I should know this. Is YA dystopia a genre? Because I'm still pretty heavily into that. Low fantasy, romance. Well, I have the struggle with what the exact definition of romance is, because I don't like the Harlequin side of romance. I like contemporary romance. So that, is that 3? We're gonna say that. I'm really bad with genres. Do you prefer to borrow or buy? Buy. I've gotten way more into borrowing lately just because I have rapidly increased the amount that I've been reading lately. So I have pretty much by force needed to start borrowing more. And kudos to my library for having such an awesome library. Because there's like, I don't know, 10 in my county. So I really do have a wide selection of options. But when it comes down to it, I like to buy them. Kind of why I'm considering a book of the month, like either specifically book of the month or some other subscription box. I have an Audible subscription. I've got like 8 million books on my Christmas list, and all the ones I don't get, I'm gonna end up buying. I love my bookshelf. My family doesn't get it, but it's my passion. Characters or plot? Again, I want to say both, but if I was forced to pick, it would be plot. Just because I can't sit through a book where nothing is happening. I can handle the character kind of just being a bland, self-insert-ish kind of character if the plot is moving. However, in that situation, other characters still need to be fleshed out. Like, you can't have 16 characters that have absolutely no characterization. But ultimately the plot is what keeps me coming back because I have to know what happens. But I do think the two kind of work in tandem. Like, you can't just have completely flat characters and a really good plot and it be a good novel in the same way that you can't have these amazingly super awesome fleshed out characters with absolutely no plot. You have to have both to some degree. Long or short books? I guess it kind of depends on what your definition of long and short are. The perfect length to me is about 400 pages, and I think that is really kind of a medium length, because to me short is 200 and under, and long is over 500, so I guess I err on the side of long. But then on the other hand, if they're short, I can reread them multiple times. So am I supposed to be picking these answers like concretely and also rapidly, because this is already like a 12-minute video, so I'm really bad at rapid fire, apparently. You're welcome. Long or short chapters? Definitely short. The first book I read with like actually short chapters was the Da Vinci Code, and it blew my mind that you could have a chapter be like 2 pages, and I loved it. Obviously, you have to be able to tell your story concisely for that to work out to be that short, but I loved being able to pick up, read like a chapter or 2 and set it down in the span of 5 minutes. It made it really nice because then it's like, okay, you know, I've got literally 5 minutes to do something. I can read a couple pages. Whereas when I'm reading these books with like 20-page chapters, it's like, do I have time? Because I hate stopping in the middle of a chapter. So definitely short. First 3 books you think of. Oh God. I've already named so many books and I can like see the books behind me. Okay, Harry Potter, because I'm rewatching all the movies. 3 books. I'm like blanking even though I can see these all. Okay. So Harry Potter, The Diviners, and The Outsiders. It should not have been so hard because actually I thought of that book because I could see it, but I couldn't remember the name of it. All I got was Tom Perrotta. And I know this was not like a quiz. So, I mean, Harry Potter, I'm rereading it and rewatching all the movies. Diviners is just my obsession. And also, so is The Outsiders. It's one of my favorite books ever. Not that you needed to know why I thought of them. I was just kind of hoping to come up with something slightly more unique that weren't like my top 3 favorite books of all times, but whatever. Books that make you laugh or books that make you cry? Books that make me cry tend to stick with me pretty much forever. So I love that aspect of them because it means you've really struck a chord with me and you've just, you know, burrowed your way into my heart enough that whatever happened to your characters made me cry. And that's not something that's, I mean, I cry really easily, but I don't like crying, so I tend to avoid it. So if your book actually succeeds in making me cry, I consider that to be a win. That being said, obviously the act of laughing is way more enjoyable, but books that are laugh out loud funny to me don't really stick with me. So even though I've read plenty of funny books, I couldn't tell you offhand what they are, whereas like Hazel's Theory of Evolution, I just read that like 3 weeks ago, made me cry. It's an amazing middle grade book. Y'all should read that too. Our World or fictional? I'm gonna have to go with fictional because I do read a decent amount of like low fantasy stuff where, you know, the world is fairly similar to ours, but they have magical elements, and let's be real, 10 out of 10 times that's always gonna be better. Audiobooks, yes or no? Absolutely yes. I keep track of all my reading on this insane spreadsheet, and I've been doing it for 13, 14 years now. And more recently, I've been tracking how I am reading, what format my book is in, and now that I've started using my library, I'm including those stats in there too, just to kind of give myself a more insane breakdown. And over half of my books every year since I started doing that have been Audible and or borrowed audiobooks consistently. I thought that was going to drop when I stopped having such a long commute because I went from about a 35-minute commute to a 5-minute commute. And once that happened, I was like, oh, my audiobook usage is going to go down, but I have found ways of still incorporating audiobooks into my life just because they're so amazing. So there are some books like The Diviners. I don't even think I have physically read any of The Diviners. I have repeatedly listened to the audiobooks because January Lavoie is a queen, and I will listen to anything that woman. She could read the phone book. She's so talented. Book to movie or book to TV adaptations. It does depend on the book, but usually I'm gonna err for the side of TV show because you can really flesh out what's going on and you can really dig into the character motivations in a way that movies just can't do, particularly if it's a series, because there's a lot they need to cover and they have a limited amount of time. Because you figure each movie's gonna be about 1.5 hours, 2 hours, when most audiobooks are like 8 hours. 8 to 12 to 14, 18, 20, weird set of numbers, hours. And there's so much content to put into 1.5 hours. And it just doesn't work. So you have to figure out what is important, what isn't, what do you have to cut. But when you put it into a TV show, you've got the ability to show everything and more. I'm not a huge fan of Leanne Moriarty, but I loved Big Little Lies, and I loved what that show did. Haven't watched season 2, not totally amped that they did a season 2 for it, but that and like Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, both of those series took this book, the singular book, and just made an amazing 8 or 12 episodes out of them, and it was fantastic. And I am here for books being TV shows. We need more of it. And if I tweet at Netflix often enough, I'm thinking maybe they'll just start agreeing with me just to shut me up. So I'm trying to get them to adapt Liver Bray and Marissa Meyer's works. I don't think it's working. Do you judge a book by its cover? Absolutely. I think everybody does. It's almost impossible not to, because it's the first thing you see. That hasn't necessarily stopped me from reading a book, but it has definitely prevented me from physically picking it up. I judge them more harshly in person than I do online, just because online you can kind of scroll past it and get to the description. And I know it's not that hard to pick up a book and read the description, but when you're in the store and you're just like, that's an ugly book, I don't even want to look at it. Whereas online, it may have been recommended to you or shown up and you're like, okay, well, I at least want to know why I'm seeing this. I don't think I have anything where I hate the cover. But I don't know. Okay, I can't think of anything. I'm not going to sit there and like just do that. A movie or TV show you preferred to its book? Oh, so I wrote this list down a couple hours ago, and there is a movie out there that I liked better than the book, and I don't remember what it is. I'm hoping that maybe between the time I am talking and the time that I am editing that I will remember what that movie is, because it shocked me that it has ever happened to me. Because I am a staunch believer that the book is always better. But this one instance, I agreed with whatever the... Oh! Was it Breaking Dawn? Okay, well, if it wasn't, I do agree with Breaking Dawn Part 2. Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen the movie and or care still. But the movie, that 5th movie that didn't need to happen because I absolutely could have kept that at 4 movies, but whatever. When they go to battle and they actually show the stupid battle and Carlisle dies and like everybody dies, and like, sure, it sucked that it was just a dream, or not a dream, you know, whatever, a vision. That totally sucked. But the fact that they actually put the battle in meant everything, because there was this, I remember that book made me so angry, because you're reading, and you're like, there are 20 pages left, and they're building up to this big war, and there's 20 pages, like, this isn't going to get resolved, because of course there's a battle. No, there's no stupid battle, and I was so angry. I stayed up to like 4 a.m. to finish that book. It made me so mad. So when the movie was like, well, we have to put in the epic battle scene, even if it's fake, I was 100% here for it. However, I don't know if that was really the movie that I thought was better than the book, but I'm going to say that is for now, and if I remember the other one, then I will do that, but I probably won't remember. And finally, series or standalone. I've been leaning more towards standalone lately, just because now that I'm reading so much more, it's harder to pick up a series, because I want to then read the whole series back to back to back, and I'm trying to branch my reading out a little bit more, and looking into new authors, and well, new to me, and new topics, and possibly new genres, just really kind of want to branch out. And every time I get into a series, it's like, okay, well, this is a lot more time dedicated to this particular thing. So I love them both, and I love series for the world building and, you know, getting to revisit my favorite characters over and over again, and I love everything about it. And I will never stop reading series, but I am currently favoring standalones. Anyway, that's all for the rapid fire book tag. I will leave all the questions down below. I am not tagging anyone because A, this is kind of old, and B, I am too new for anyone to care if I'm tagging them, so we're gonna ignore that. But if you want to do it, everything's down below. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye.